Yo, yo, yo. What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? DFJ Hoops back here again. Yeah, now I miss about the whole of last week in terms of Sixer games. I ain't really recap any of the games, but I was a little busy, so I had to take care of something. But um nonetheless, we still back at it. The Sixers played the Detroit Pistons last night, so we definitely gotta talk about it. Shout out to y'all in the building. Shout out to my guy Michael. Always in here showing love. What's good, DFJ? Been a minute. Yeah. I know. And I wasn't ducking though. I wasn't ducking nobody, but I just had to take care of something. That's why. But shout out to you, bro. Appreciate you. He says, I thought you I thought you had quit on your team. Nah, bro. I ain't gonna ever quit on the Sixers. I just had to take care of something, but yeah. No. I mean, come on, bro. The Sixers, they 4-10 right now. So I mean 4-14 right now. They 10 games on the 500. So yeah, still got a long way to go. Still got a long way to go. But appreciate you, bro. Shout out to my guy Mike in the building. Appreciate you. Salute. Appreciate the love and support. Appreciate y'all. But yeah, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it. First of all, shout out to the guys that be supporting me. Shout out to the two guys in the building right now. Shout out to my guy JD Banks, who always watches on the playback. Appreciate you. Shout out to Mike Sports Vibe. Shout out to Mitch Kovsky. Shout out to all the guys. But yeah, let's get into this. So the Sixers took on the Detroit Pistons last night. Detroit, second game back to back. I think they took on the Indiana Pacers the night before. They beat them. I think it was an in-season tournament. Yeah, it was an in-season tournament game. Which people did say that the Sixers, it was an easy game for them because second game on a back-to-back for Detroit, so the Sixers should win. But that's not necessarily true because the Sixers took on the Houston Rockets and they had played a back-to-back the night before. They had played the Minnesota Timberwolves and they went to overtime with them and they won. And they had to come to Philly and face the Sixers, but the Sixers lost that game. So just because the point I'm trying to make is just because a team is on a back-to-back is not a guaranteed victory for the Sixers, right? So, but the Sixers, they did take care of business. They beat the Pistons. The Sixers had no Embiid. Embiid is still has a left knee injury. Now, according to the Sixers, they said that the swelling has gone down. So we might see him against the Charlotte Hornets on Tuesday, but it's not a guarantee. But we'll have to see. But no Embiid, no Caleb Martin. Caleb is still, has a lower back injury, lower back soreness, or whatever that is. So he didn't play. And then, of course, the Sixers didn't have Kyle Lowry. I mean, nobody would really care if the Sixers don't have Kyle Lowry and Reggie Jackson. Like nobody care about those two. But Detroit, they didn't have Cade Cunningham. I mean, Cade is the best player on that team. I don't know if they were resting him. I don't know if he's injured, but he didn't play. But surprisingly, Paul George did play for the Sixers, and I was shocked because I thought he wasn't going to play. Right, I didn't think they was going to clear Paul George to play. Before the game, he was questionable. I thought he was doubtful, but they listed him as questionable, and then all of a sudden, Paul George comes out and he plays. Had a big ass knee brace on his left knee because he's trying to protect it from re-injuring it. And that knee brace, that shit biggest, bro. I don't ever want to put that shit on. But Paul George did show up for the Sixers. He had a pretty good game. Don't just look at the shooting splits or the shooting numbers or what he went from the field and judge him based off of that, because he did a lot of things in this game in terms of, his effort on the defensive side of the floor, the rebounding, the playmaking. It was just, he had a good all around game. Now the shooting didn't really go in his favor, but, I'll just say he had a overall good game, right? Had a good game, solid game for the Sixers, and definitely helped the Sixers get this victory. Now, the first frame, I saw what Nick Nurse was trying to do. They was trying to use Paul George, like I said, as a playmaker, trying to, use him as a playmaker to, try to get him going in a sense. And Paul George did make some good passes. He made some good reads. In those first 3-4 possessions of the Sixers, one of those plays, he was posting up Jaden Ivey on the block, on the left-hand side of the block, and he was able to make a good pass, made a good read to Kelly Oubre in the corner. And then Kelly makes a three. Now, Kelly Oubre had a good first quarter, right? Had a good first quarter, had he made like 2 threes, and the Sixers as a team in general, they shot the 3-pointer very, very well. Um, and that was very, very surprising because in previous games the Sixers don't really start off the first quarter that good, right? They don't start off that good, and it's always up and down for them. But in this one, they made shots early. They were staying aggressive. They took um they took the shots that was there because Detroit was not really rotating on defense that much, and the Sixers return they had a lot of wide open looks, right? A bunch of wide open looks, and they just capitalized on it. And I was really glad because Kelly Oubre shots. I mean Tyrese Maxey didn't really. Tyrese he struggled a little bit, right? He struggled a little bit in the first half he did struggle a little bit, but he got it going in the second half, which we're to him in a little minute. But using Paul George as a playmaker, I think he finished that first quarter with I think four, 3 or 4 assists. Right, he was making some of the best passes. And one of those plays, roll with Andre Drummond, and Andre he goes up and gets a dunk. Now Andre Drummond was on pace to having a very good game, right? Until everything came crashing down where he went up for offensive rebound. It was a putback, and he came down and he rolled his ankle. He stepped on Tobias Harris's foot, and then he ended up rolling his ankle. Now it wasn't a bad play. I'm not gonna say it was a bad play because he was Tobias was just there, and it was just in traffic, right? So sometimes when you're in traffic, getting offensive rebound in traffic, sometimes you might end up stepping on somebody's foot. So it wasn't a dirty play. I don't think Tobias. I mean, nobody looks at Tobias Harris as a dirty player, right? That's not something that Tobias would really do. But it was just unfortunate he landed on Tobias Harris's foot, and he rolled his ankle pretty badly, right? He rolled it so badly he couldn't even put any weight on that right foot. I think it was his right ankle. So they had to sit him down, and it gave somebody opportunity. It gave Adem Bona some playing time, right? Adem Bona played, I think, 19 or 20 minutes in this game. He was very, very effective on both sides of the floor. Now, Adem Bona, he's fearless, right? He's not scared to get dunked on. He's not scared to get put on the poster. He's not scared to get crossed or whatever. He's just trying to get some playing time, right? He's trying to do whatever he can to get some playing time. And he came in and, as a rim protector, he was solid, right? Getting rebounds, blocking shots. I think the Sixers they had 8 block shots in this game, right? And Adem Bona contributed to 3 of them. Now the Sixers are one of the worst when it comes to block shots. They're one of the worst teams at that, and they were able to pick up 8 blocks in that game. So that shows you Adem Bona's his effect on the floor defensively. Now offensively, he didn't really give you that much. He did make a couple free throws because he was getting fouled by Isaiah Stewart. Isaiah Stewart's he's a big body. Like he's about 6'10", 6'11", built he built like an ox. And, Adem Bona was able to get some, free throws from him, was able to get fouled because, sometimes, Isaiah Stewart can get a little bit, emotional and then, start making some of these petty mistakes. But, Adem Bona did contribute to the Sixer team very largely. And then you had other guys like KJ Martin, who also came in and was just a banger, right? KJ did, this is probably one of his best games so far for the Sixers, right? Since last season and this season, I'll probably say this was probably one of his best games. And then Ricky Council also had a good game as well. Shout out to him. Shout out to the young guys. Shout out to Nick Nurse for playing these guys, right? Shout out to him for playing these guys, giving these guys the opportunity to prove themselves. Now, the next game against Charlotte, it might be a little bit different, but I think I would definitely give Nick Nurse, some credit, for playing some of these guys. Smash the like button as y'all come in. But yeah, like I was saying, man, KJ Martin came in and Ricky Council came in, and they was just bangers, right? Going after every offensive rebound. And Ricky Council in particular, he was just attacking the basket. Like he just once he got the ball, he would just put his head down and try to attack the rim, right? He got a lot of free throws in the process, a lot of trips to the free throw line, and he just did everything that the Sixers needed. Defensively, he was solid. Some of his threes didn't really look pretty, right? Some of his threes didn't really look pretty, but I mean, I'm just glad I'm just glad that he shot it because sometimes, you just need these guys to shoot the basketball. If you don't shoot it, you don't know what's going to happen. So I'm glad he took those shots. From the stat sheet, he only made from the three. Ricky made 1 3-pointer, right? He took 3 of them and just made 1 of them. So I think that's definitely a plus for him for playing in a game like this, because typically he's not gonna get any playing time. But uh Kelly Oubre was he was a hero for the Sixers, right? He was a hero for the Sixers in the first frame. Tyrese Maxey didn't really have it going, but it was just good that Kelly Oubre had a decent first quarter because sometimes the Sixers usually rely on the Tyrese Maxeys or the Jared McCains to carry them in the first, but it was glad that Kelly Oubre was able to get it going in the first, and not too many mistakes. He took the shots that were available. Now later on down the line, he did make a couple mistakes, but he did what you call it. He did make up for it on the defensive side of the floor. Now Detroit on the second hand, they didn't really have a very good first quarter because, like I said, Cade Cunningham was not playing, so they had to rely on Jaden Ivey and the other guy Malik Beasley to create something, to get something going for them. And they sometimes were successful, but it wasn't successful all the time because Jaden Ivey is not really somebody who can create offense constantly, right? That's something that's Cade Cunningham's responsibility. That's what he does. But the Sixers ended up finishing the first frame with 37 points, which I was so glad. I mean, they made threes, they attacked the basket, they made some free throws, and that ended up, giving them 37 points in the first frame. So I was thinking to myself that, I mean, hopefully they can, continue, being aggressive, continue to make shots, create opportunities for themselves, and hopefully the Sixers could have a 70-point first half, right? Because they haven't had a 70-point first half. So I was just expecting it, but the Sixers got into the second, and in typical Sixers fashion, they they start being complacent, right? Start being complacent. And that's where the Detroit Pistons were going off, right? That's where Malik Beasley, he was making shots, and the Sixers didn't really make shots. I mean, it was an inconsistent in terms of the offense. It was inconsistent, and on the defensive side of the floor, they were giving up a lot of wide open threes, and that's how players like Fontecchio was making threes. Malik Beasley made threes off of screens and wide open threes. Right, Malik Beasley, he's a capable 3-point shooter. I think he's fourth in 3-point makes. So they had to keep an eye on him, but they didn't do it, and that's how Detroit they made shots in that second frame. And the second frame wasn't really the Sixers didn't really have a good second quarter. And like I said, Jared McCain, he was scoreless in that first half. Right, he didn't even take any shot. He didn't take any shot. But the Ricky Councils of the world, the KJ Martins, those guys, just being hustlers, right? Just fighting on the glass, Ademba, just fighting on the glass. They were able to get some opportunities. Sometimes they got to the free throw line a couple times as well. But the defensive effort in the second quarter was not. I expected it to be better, especially with the type of first quarter that they had. I was expecting them to head into the second with that same mindset, with that same mentality, and just try to get some of these more opportunities and get more possessions. But it wasn't that, right? They got to the free throw line a couple times, but it was just not consistent. And Paul George, he did make a couple shots. Now Paul George has some good drives in that second quarter, which I was like, dang, because that knee brace looks like that knee brace is that knee brace kind of like works hand in hand with gravity. Like if you jump up, that knee brace along with gravity is going to try to pull you down faster. And that's what it looked like, because that shit was big as hell. That shit was just big as hell. It looked uncomfortable, but he had some good drives, driving to the basket. And I was like, okay, PG still got it, right? And those, on those drives, Tim Hardaway Jr. was guarding him, but it just didn't matter. Tim Hardaway couldn't really stand in front of Paul George, and Paul George was able to get to the basket, finish, and won. Now, according to the Sixers, they said that Paul George, that hyperextension was not as serious as the first one, so maybe that's why PG looked the way he looked. I mean, he was so strong, putting his shoulders through guys' chest. Jaden Ivey, Asar Thompson. Amen Thompson is for the Houston Rockets. But has some, he bullied some of these little guards a couple times, and Paul George, broad shoulders, 6'9", 6'8". Sometimes he can, if he decides to play bully ball, he can definitely be as successful at that. But sometimes he just gets jump shot happy and starts to shoot jump shots. But when he's going downhill, sometimes he's unstoppable because he's that strong, right? He's that strong, and not just anybody can stop him on those drives. If you're not strong enough, if you can't keep your feet, if you can't move your feet to kind of like stay in front of him, it's going to be difficult to contain Paul George. But has some of those tough drives. But in the second frame, he didn't really get a lot of consistent minutes because I think he was still on, he's still on minutes restrictions. They're still trying to watch his minutes and not let him play a lot of minutes, right? I think the entirety of the game, he played less than 30 minutes, right? Played less than 30 minutes. So they were trying to keep his minutes in check. But, the first half, the Sixers finished the first half with a 5-point lead because Detroit went on a run in that second quarter. They finished with 32 points. They outscored the Sixers 32-20. So they was getting busy in the second frame, right? And like I said, Ricky Council had probably one of his best games with the Sixers. He finished with 13 points in the first half, right? Finished with 13 points in the first half. And the Detroit Pistons was just being fueled by Malik Beasley. And Jaden Ivey was, he was here or there, creating some of those opportunities, making some of those passes for them. And they hurt the Sixers, right? Shout out to Paul Reed. Paul Reed not really getting a lot of playing time with the Pistons. The Sixers probably valued Paul Reed more than the Detroit Pistons because, with the Sixers at least, he was a backup center. But on this Pistons team, he got to play behind Jalen Duren, got to play behind Isaiah Stewart, and then, he's next in line. So he's a third-string center. But Paul Reed did make some shots for them in that second frame, made like back-to-back shots. Has some good takes around the rim, good touch around the rim. He finished with the up and under. He finished with the up and under layup. I was like, okay, Paul Reed is definitely working on his game. But it was just good to see him, former Sixer. And then you had Tobias Harris on the other side who, I just want Tobias to be successful. Right. I just want Tobias to be successful. And, the typical Sixer fan is not a big fan of Tobias Harris. But, I'm not a fan of Tobias, but I just wanted to be successful. Now, even though I wanted the Sixers to win, I still wanted Tobias to be successful. And, he didn't really – it was not in his favor in this game right here. 4 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists. Yeah, things didn't really go in his favor. 1 for 8 from the field. He did let the defense off the hook sometimes because there was a play he had Tyrese Maxey on him in the post, and I was just like, Tobias, just muscle your way to the basket. Like it's not that hard. Just do it. But sometimes you just look at the referees and try to look for a call, and But I was just like, Tobias, when you got Maxey on you don't have to look at the referees. Maxey's trying to. He's trying to hold his own in the post, but you got the size advantage, got the height advantage. I don't think in situations like that you should be looking at the officials. But Tobias being Tobias didn't really, didn't really be aggressive. I think in the first half he only had 1 point because it was in the second half where he had that and one where KJ was trying to block him, but he got there late and Tobias was able to finish it, and then he got to the free throw line and made that traditional 3-point play. But yeah, all in all, he didn't have a good game, and it just gives the Sixers fans more fuel to go at him. Now I don't bash Tobias. I don't want to I don't bash him, but he made it difficult for himself in this game. But the Sixers head into the third frame, and Tyrese Maxey starts to go off. Now, like I said, Maxey only had 8 points in the first half, but in the third, he scored the Sixers' first 10 points, right? He made a 3 off a Paul George miss because Paul George he shot a 3, but I think KJ had tracked the offensive rebound. He found Maxey, and Maxey was able to make a 3. And I think once that 3-pointer went through, I think that's when Maxey started to, get into some sort of rhythm. And then, he was taking guys to the rim, taking Tobias Harris off the dribble, getting to the basket, finishing before Jalen Duran gets to him to block it. He made another 3-pointer off of Paul George feed, and then he started making plays. He started working that 2-man game with KJ Martin. And in that stretch, it was either KJ or Maxey who scored before Yabusele he got into the mix off of Paul George feed. Paul George drove down the lane, and then Yabusele runs down the baseline on the backdoor cut, and he was able to finish. And I like plays like that. Those are plays that we weren't really seeing in the first few games. Guys was not really cutting like that, right? But we saw a lot of backdoor cuts in this game. KJ Martin, got a he scored on a backdoor cut. Kelly Oubre scored on a backdoor cut, and all those two cuts were, Maxey was able to make the right pass and find them on those cuts, and he was able to reward them, right? So we're starting to see this offense, build, get better and better and better. But I think with Embiid on the floor, if Embiid plays enough games, if he ever returns, I think the offense is going to get much better. But Maxey, he started the third. He started off hot, and then KJ got in the mix, and then Yabusele got in the mix. Paul George made a few shots. And then on the other side, they were just playing some good, great defense, right? Some great elite rim protection from Adem Bona, from KJ Martin, and just guys just running to the 3-point line, contesting shots, and making it very, very difficult for the Pistons team. Now they had a few opportunities that went their way, made a few mistakes here or there. I mean, Bona, he's still a rookie, so sometimes he'll play great he'll give you great rim protection, but on the other side, he's definitely gonna foul some guys, right? He's definitely gonna foul some guys. He's gonna be called for offensive goaltending and shit like that. I mean, defensive goaltending and shit like that. So, he's not. I'm not saying he's perfect, right? But he definitely gives you effort. Like according to the coaching staff, like he's a hard worker, has a high motor, and he's just fearless, right? Just like Jeremy Kane, he's fearless on the defensive side of the floor. He's not scared to get dunked on, not scared to get crossed or get put on the poster. Like he's just giving you effort, all the way throughout the game. He might make a few mistakes here or there, but the effort is always there. But the Sixers, they end the third quarter very, very hot. I think at some point they went up by 22 points, and that was the biggest lead they had in that game. And heading into the fourth with a huge lead like that, I was just scared for them. And the reason why I was scared was because this team has blown leads to some of the other teams, right? They've blown big leads to teams in the past. They blew a lead to the Miami Heat. They blew a lead to the Orlando Tragic. They probably blew a lead to the LeBronto Raptors. I can't remember. That was the second game of the season, but they probably did. Right? They probably did. So when they had it into the fourth, I was just scared that they might they might blow this lead up because no lead is safe around the six. I mean, when the Sixers have it, right? No lead is safe, but um, the Sixers proved me wrong, right? They proved me wrong. They went into the fourth. Yabusele, he played some good basketball last night. Yabusele made shots. Some of the other guys made shots. Maxey was trying to close this game up. Maxey made it a point in this game that they were not going to lose. Now, let me give them a little bit of credit, right? They've had games where they came back and won, right, against the Brooklyn Nets. They had the lead, they blew that lead, and then they came back and they won. Now that was only one game, but I'm not gonna give them too much credit for it. Nah, I ain't gonna give them too much credit. Smash the like button as y'all come in. I ain't gonna give them too much credit, but the point is that they made shots, they got the stops, but I mean Detroit on the other side, they were making things very, very difficult on themselves, right? Some of these players, turn the ball over without any defensive pressure, without the Sixers picking them up full court, and they're just turning the ball over, making some of these little petty mistakes, that I believe if Cade Cunningham was in the game, they probably don't make those mistakes because Cade, I mean, he's a point guard, so he's able to he can control the game. Cade is in his third season, fourth season, whatever that is. Yeah, fourth season. So there's a few mistakes that he's not going to be making, but the Pistons were making those they were making those mistakes. So that's on them. And they made it a little bit more easier for the Sixers. All the Sixers had to do was, stay under pressure and just execute at a high level. So I think you got to give Nick Nurse a little bit of credit for some of the play calls and some of the opportunities that they were creating for themselves. Now, Paul George did go down in the fourth. It was on a loose ball. I think he was trying to take Fontecchio off the dribble. The ball got loose a little bit, traveled in the Sixers half court. Paul George was going for it, and then Fontecchio he dived on the floor trying to recover that loose ball, and ended up kind of like taking his knee out the right knee, and his knee it buckled. Not anything serious, but it just buckled. The way it buckled, it didn't really look good. But he was able to walk on his own to the bench, and the Sixers didn't play him for the rest of the game. It wasn't nothing wrong with him. They said they sat him. I mean, Nick Nurse said he sat him for precautionary reasons. So it's not anything for Sixer fans to be concerned with. I think he'll be fine. But I mean, it's just the timing of it is just not good because Paul George is coming back from a second hyperextended knee on the left side, right? Had a big ass brace, a big ass knee brace on that left knee. And like I said, that knee brace is working hand in hand with gravity, right? It's just when you have that shit on, it just feels uncomfortable. And then you watch Fontecchio trying to go for a loose ball and then goes into his knees like that. It just didn't look good. But I mean, Fontecchio, he's not caring about PG's hyperextended knees. Like he's just going for the basketball, right? He's trying to make a play, and unfortunately, Paul George's right knees was in the way. So, it just went down in the process. But Paul George, he did look fine. It's not anything serious, but I just think that he got to be careful, right? You got to be careful. So you got to be careful. I mean, if you took care of the ball, you probably are not in that position to let somebody run into your knees like that. So you can give Paul George a little bit of blame on that, but I think he'll be fine. But the Sixers, they ended up making shots. They ended up putting the game away. KJ Martin was he was great on both sides of the floor in the fourth. And I mean, I know people are gonna say Maxey was the what you call it. I think people are gonna say Maxey was the player of the game, which I mean that's fine. But I'd rather give it to a KJ Martin. I'd rather give it to a Ricky Council the fourth because they came in and they really played good. And they played in the Houston Rockets game, and then they got their opportunity to play in this game right here. And against the Houston Rockets, even though the Sixers lost, KJ was impressive in that game. Right, he was impressive in that game defensively. Ricky Council was somewhat impressive in that game as well. But what they did in this Pistons game, I was really impressed. And I know people are going to say, oh, it's the Detroit Pistons, but Detroit, they beat us last time. So if you're going to give Detroit credit for beating the Sixers the last time, you definitely got to give the Sixers credit for, taking them down this time. Right now, yeah, the Sixers are 4-10 in the season. We're not saying that the Sixers are back. The Sixers have issues, right? The Sixers still have issues. And one of the issues is when they win one, they drop multiple games. They lose multiple games, and then they win another one. They lose multiple games, and then they win. So I'm challenging the Sixers, right? I'm challenging the Sixers, and I want the Sixers to prove to me that they can win 2 games in a row because they haven't done that, right? They haven't done that. We haven't seen it this season, so I am challenging them. Now, they take on the Charlotte Hornets on Tuesday, which, hopefully, I don't know what's going on with Joel. I hope he's okay. They said the swelling went down, so hopefully we could see him. But I'm challenging the Sixers to win on Tuesday against the Hornets. Now, Charlotte, they've been playing some good basketball. Obviously, they're ahead of the Sixers. They've won more games than the Sixers, but the last time we faced them, the Sixers won. Right, the Sixers won in overtime. Um, LaMelo Ball was, he was superb in that game. He jacked up a lot of shots. I think he jacked up like 19 threes or something crazy like that. So, but LaMelo's been playing some good basketball. I think he's top 5 in scoring. He's putting up 30, averaging 30 this season. So, he's been spectacular. But against the Hornets, I expect Nick Nurse to play, the same players. I think Bona can definitely be a huge contributing factor in that game, right? With Andre Drummond going down. Now Drummond's injury did look severe. Like that ankle came down to earth. Now I'm not laughing at his injury. I'll never do that, but I'm just saying that ankle, it looked terrible, right? It looked so terrible. You couldn't put any weight on it. So, I mean, it's just unfortunate that for other guys to get opportunities to play, somebody got to go down, right? Somebody got to go down, and I don't like that it's that way. But I think I didn't bone. I mean, he's listed as 6'10". He looks 6'8" to me, but he's listed as 6'10". He's a little bit light as a big man, but I mean, he's in his rookie season, so hopefully in the years to come, he'll probably develop, probably get a little bit physical, put some meat on the bones, pause if necessary. But I think Adem Bona is everything that Sixer fans wanted Paul Reed to be, right? He's everything that Sixer fans wanted Paul Reed to be. But unfortunately, that was not Paul Reed. Yeah, smash the like button as y'all come in. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. But yeah, Paul Reed was not that. Paul Reed doesn't give you the rim protection that Bona's giving you. Paul Reed, his motor's not as high as a Adem Bona. He's not the hard worker that Bona is. I mean, he got that brute strength, right? That brute African strength. I think he's Nigerian. So Bona is able to, come in, give you some elite rim protection. I believe he definitely got to get some playing time. And against the Cavs, the Sixers did lose. I mean, they lost to the Cavs, but against the Cavs, when Bono was in the game, the Cavs didn't really attack the basket as much, right? But when Yabusele was in, when he was a backup center, they constantly attacked the paint. Now, when he was in, when Bono was in, don't get me wrong, Darius Garland, he's very, very crafty, very, very fast, little guy, midget. Sometimes he would just blow past some of these guys, and he'll get to the basket before a Bona gets there or try to block the shot. So, but when he was in, the Cavs didn't really drive as much to the rim, and Adem Bona did give Jared Allen some fits around the glass. He gave him some fits, and Jared Allen looked disinterested in that game. Now I'm not a huge Jared Allen fan, so but the point that I'm trying to make is that he made it very difficult for those guys, right? He made it difficult for Jared Allen, Evan Mobley on the glass, and the Sixers didn't really give up a ton of points in the paint when he was in, and they didn't give up a lot of offensive rebounds, right? Sometimes he just boxes out some of these other guys, and other guys are able to get the rebounds. And I mean, I think we got to give the Sixers a lot of props for the glass cleaning, for the rebounding job that they everybody got on the glass, right? Everybody, Paul George, Kelly Oubre, Yabusele, all these guys got on the glass, and then you had guys coming off the bench also giving you the same rebound and production where they're getting on the glass. And like I already mentioned, KJ Martin, Ricky Council, like all these guys, they got on the glass. So you definitely got to give them gotta give him some props on that. This one of the few games that the Sixers won the rebounding department. So you got to give them credit, and they're bottom 5 in in rebounding. So you got to give them props on that. But yeah, I think Adem Bona should be getting some playing time. Right, he's really impressed me. Now I'm not saying he's some top level rim protector. I'm not saying that, but he definitely he has a lot of potential. And when he plays a lot of minutes, he will learn from his mistakes, right? Some of these fouls that he commits, he's not going to be committing those fouls, right? He ain't going to be committing all them fouls. So, Nick Nurse, I'm challenging you. I'm challenging the Sixers as a team to prove to me that they can win two games in a row. But I'm also challenging you to prove to me that you can give some of these younger guys some enough playing time. right? So I'm challenging the coaching staff. I'm challenging the entire coaching staff, and I'm challenging the Sixers as a team to prove to me that they can win 2 games in a row. I'm challenging the coaching staff to prove to me that they can play some of these younger guys, and then I'm challenging the Sixers to prove that they can win 2 games in a row. So I think it's fair on both sides, but against the Charlotte Hornets, I'm really looking forward to that game. Charlotte, I don't know what their record is, but um, they probably bottom 5 in the season. Um, but yeah, good team win, good team victory from the Sixers. Not anything crazy. They took care of business, and they're giving themselves a little bit of a chance, right? Just give yourself a chance to compete. Yeah, the Hornets are 6-14 in the season, so that's what 8 games under 500. So that'll be a great game. But the Sixers, they're just working their way back up, right? Working their way up. Hopefully Paul George is okay. Hopefully these guys can take care of business on Tuesday, and we can see where the Sixers can go from there. But Jared McCain didn't really have a great outing, but hopefully against Charlotte, we see something different, right? Hopefully against Charlotte, we see something different, and hopefully the coaching staff play these young guys, give them some playing time. Let's see what they're capable of doing. Yeah. So I mean, Bona played, if I'm rounding up, 20 minutes. KJ Martin got 27 minutes. Ricky Council had 26 minutes. Right. So that's enough playing time for some of these guys to prove what they're capable of doing. Right. And KJ 19 points, Ricky Council 17 points off the bench. That's great production right there. Right. Great production. And they did a lot of damage, getting offensive rebounds. Right. So yeah, I think the Sixers should get credit for that. Um, yeah, the Detroit 5 blocks, the Sixers at 8, right? And KJ Martin and Adem Bona gave you 6 by themselves, right? They gave you 6 by themselves. Ricky Council got a block shot. Ure got a block shot. So, the Sixers, that was a very very rugged game. Shout out to my guy Teacher, got game in the building, bro. Appreciate you. He says Nurse still coaching for his job. Um, it's funny. I've seen that a lot. I've seen a lot of fire Nick Nurse. Um, and I don't know if you're one of them that's saying that Nick Nurse should be fired. I mean, I just I just think it's unfair, but yeah, he coached a very good game last night. And what really impressed me was he gave some of these younger guys a lot of playing time, right? Ricky Council, Adem Bona, KJ Martin, he gave those guys a lot of playing time. And KJ and Ricky were just bangers, both sides of the floor, getting offensive rebounds, attacking the basket. KJ had a huge putback dunk. I was like, God damn, I ain't seen that in a minute, but Nick Nurse is still coaching for a job. I would somewhat agree with that. I think I want to see him play some of these other guys. Like Adem Bona, I think he should definitely get some playing time, right? With Andre Drummond looking like he's gonna miss at least 2 to 3 weeks because that ankle didn't look that was terrible, right? It came down to earth. So I think Adem Bona is gonna be playing, and we'll see. But yeah, I think he coached a very good game. So um he he lives to see another day as a head coach for the Sixers. So yeah, yeah, I would agree with you on that part. But I ain't with that fire Nick Nurse. I mean, I'm not at that point yet. I think Nick Nurse is a good head coach, and I'm hearing people saying that he's a Kawhi merchant. He won a championship with Kawhi Leonard, which yeah, it's true, but I don't think he's a Kawhi merchant. I think Nick Nurse is a good coach because it's a reason why Fred VanVleet had his best season under Nick Nurse, right? I think Nick Nurse brought the best out of him. Yeah, he played him a lot of minutes, got some decent production out of him, and as a result, Fred VanVleet made the All Star team, right? Undrafted player. Nick Nurse gives him a chance. Guess what? Makes the All Star team, right? Another player, Pascal Siakam, made the All Star team under Nick Nurse, and even that bum OG Anunoby right? He had his best season under Nick Nurse. Pascal Siakam had his best season under Nick Nurse. So I think Nick Nurse is he's a good head coach. He can bring the best out of players sometimes. It's just that sometimes he gets in his own ways and he makes stuff difficult for himself. But yeah, I'm not at that point. I still believe that Nick Nurse can help this team. But first of all, we got to get healthy because we got a lot of guys in and out the lineup. So um, sometimes his rotations is it's questionable, right? The three guard lineups, I still question them. We saw the three guard lineups in this in last night's game where we saw McCain, Eric Gordon, and somebody else. Eric Gordon is done. Eric Gordon is done. He made just like 3 or 4 good plays last night, but most of his drives is just guys are not falling for his pump fakes, and guys are not trying to contest his shots. He can't make shots. He takes some of these threes and they look so terrible, and he's over with. Right, he gets to the rim, has no elevation, no lift whatsoever, and his shots get blocked. Sometimes he gets fouled, but they not calling those fouls, so it just looks terrible for him. But yeah, he's done. He's over with. Um, I want to see more of the young guys, the Ricky Councils and those other guys. I want to see them more. I want to see. I want to see Eric Gordon on the floor, though, boy. Oh man, he said Gordon can't dribble, shoot, nor layup. He's worse than PJ Tucker. Yeah, he's definitely he's terrible. And PJ Tucker not even playing. Right? PJ Tucker somewhere um in LA with his feet kicked up, just cashing checks. Right? Cashing checks. So and it just looks terrible for EG, but I mean hopefully I mean I don't know, but yeah, he has no. The thing is, the Sixers barely have any guards, so Nick Nurse has no choice but to play him. So that's why, he gets playing time with the Sixers. But how many minutes did he play? Less than, I mean, 10 minutes if I'm rounding up. But yeah, those minutes could go to somebody else. It could go to a lesser Quinones, or I don't know if I said that right, but yeah, those minutes could definitely go to Lester Quinones. Because at this, I mean, Lester could definitely give you more production than Eric Gordon. So yeah, it's just terrible. But the Sixers still won in spite of Gordon. He has some good defensive plays here or there, but overall, those drives to the rim, the 3 pointers, it just looks terrible for him. So yeah, he shouldn't be playing. But yeah, the Sixers they gotta win on Tuesday, right? They gotta win on Tuesday. They gotta prove to us that they can win 2 games in a row. They gotta prove to us they can win two. If you can't win 2 games in a row, then you're done, right? The season is over for you because you gotta put together a winning streak to get yourself back into the playoff race to compete. But if you can't do that, then I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's all I have for this game right here. If I'll say this again. If you thought that because the Pistons were on a back to back, it was an easy game for the Sixers, then I think you're wrong because the Sixers they lost to Houston, and Houston was on a back to back. So I don't think it was a guarantee. The Sixers definitely earned this one. Even though I'm not giving them a ton of credit, I'm just saying that I want to see them win 2 games in a row. Now, if they can win 2 games in a row, then we'll go from there and see where this team can be at. But hopefully everybody gets healthy. I didn't really say too much about KJ. I mean about Caleb. KJ definitely played, was a huge factor for the Sixers. But hopefully Caleb Martin is he's okay. And I think Caleb could definitely benefit from, him resting with these, in these minutes. He didn't play against the Houston Rockets. Did he play against the Clip? Yeah, he did play against the Clippers. But against Houston, he didn't play, and he missed last night's game. So hopefully Tuesday he's good to go. I mean, 1 week of rest should definitely fuel Caleb Martin. So hopefully he gets back on the court, and the Sixers can go from there. And the Sixers could definitely use Caleb as well. But when Caleb comes in, I know somebody's minutes is going to get cut. Ricky Council or KJ Martin, they might not, or maybe some of these guys might not get too many minutes like that. So But I think we can definitely use Caleb. We can definitely use him, his services. So yeah, get well soon. Hopefully that back, that back ain't no joke, but hopefully he's good to go. Hopefully he's good to go. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Sixers get a much needed victory against the Pistons. Right? The Sixers have a pattern. I know that they got a pattern. They win one, they drop the next two or three. They win another one, drop the next two or three. And sometimes that's what it looks like in the games. Like in that, my goodness, in the second quarter, that's what it looked like. Right? They'll score on one possession. They'll have 2 to 3 trips. They don't score, and then the next trip they score, and it's just like, yo, come on, bro. What we see in the game is what we're seeing with the record. So they gotta show us some. They gotta show us some consistency. But yeah, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Shout out to my guy, Teacher Got Game. Shout out to Mike, the 2 mics in the building. Shout out to JD Banks. Appreciate y'all for the love and support. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We definitely have another show tomorrow. Tomorrow's show gonna be fire. I got an interesting topic tomorrow, so yeah, I should be on the lookout. But yeah, Tyrese Maxey, game of the player of the game, but I'll probably give it to somebody else. I'll give it to I'll say KJ Martin is the player of the game. But appreciate y'all for tuning in. Sixers are 4-14 in the season. Hopefully they pick up another victory. But all right, appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.